Help us out. Help us out.
How I got over, how I got over my love, and my soul looks back and wonders how I got over my love.
How I got over. Now that's a phrase that refers to what the slaves had to do to make it through the tough times they endured. They called it getting over. Can you say it with me now? Getting over. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Susquehanna Plantation. Now this house is different from any other home that you'll visit today. Well, in a way, it was both a home and a church. This house was the centerpiece of a farm in Maryland, where they grew tobacco and wheat, like what you may have seen growing in the fields. And this vast amount of land stretched out over an area that was almost 10 times the size of Greenfield Village. That's pretty big. Well, all this land was cared for by only 74 people. And they called this plantation home. But like prisoners in a jail, they could never leave it. They were men, women, and children forced into slavery.
This plantation was also the home of the Carroll family, one of the wealthiest families whose home we have here in Greenfield Village. Their wealth came from both their massive amount of land and from the number of people they owned, whom they forced to grow the crops to make their money.
And we're going to focus on the ingenuity it took for these enslaved Americans to make it through the oppression they faced on plantations, just like
slaves here and at plantations like this all across the country found many ways to cope with the situation they faced. They turned to religion.
and they used songs and stories to teach lessons to their children and bind their communities together.
That's right, and they tried to keep alive some of the African culture of their ancestors. And by doing that, they were able to create a brand new American culture for themselves.
Now we're going to explore what it was like to be a slave by listening to some of the words they left behind.
See, slaves didn't leave many records behind about their lives.
Well, most couldn't read or write, so they passed down their memories by word of mouth.
But during the 1930s, the Federal Works Progress Administration, or the WPA, sent scores of writers all across the country to interview the remaining people who had actually lived through the experience of slavery. And now today, these slave narratives can provide us with just a little glimpse into the lives of slaves.
And when you hear these narratives, you'll notice that there was no one single experience of slavery. It was very different from one plantation to the next. But you'll also notice that no matter what, slaves always knew they were viewed as property, and they always hungered to be free.
Now, our first narrative today comes from the memory of Josiah Henson. He was an abolitionist, author, and minister who was born into slavery in Maryland, but then later he escaped to Canada when he was 41. There, he founded a settlement and school for other fugitive slaves. But here, he remembers the horrors of the slave ship.
My brothers and sisters were bit off first, one by one. And my mother, paralyzed with grief, held me by the hand. Then her turn came, and she was bought by Isaac Riley of Montgomery County. Then I was offered no more, no more, many thousand gone. And my mother, distracted with the thought of parting forever from all of her children, pushed through the crowd while the bidding was still going on. She fell at Riley's feet and clung to his knees, entreating him in tones that only a mother could command. He disengaged himself from her with violent blows, kicks. No more, no more. Many thousand gone. I must have been 5 or 6 years old when that happened. This next remembrance is attributed to Nancy Williams of Virginia.
You just never knew who Master done went and saw. I remember one morning, an old white man rode up in a buggy. And he stopped next to a gal named Lucy working in the yard.
Oh.
And he said,
"Come on, get in this buggy. I bought you this morning."
ooh, and she begged him to let her go tell her baby and husband goodbye. But he said,
No time for crying and carrying on. Get in this buggy.
I started crying myself because I was so scared he was going to take me too. Later, when one of Aunt Sissy's children died, why she marched right up to the master and shouted in his face, "Praise God! My little baby is going on to Jesus." So that's one child of mine you're never gonna save. Many of the slave narratives did describe the enormous mental and physical pain of slavery, as described here by Jordan Johnson, born into slavery in 1848 in Virginia.
Husbands always went to the woods when they knew their wife was due for a whooping. But in the field, they dared not leave. They had to stay there, not dare to even look like they didn't like it. Charlie Jones was one slave whose wife worked out in the same field with him, was planting tobacco. Charlie was setting out, she was healing. And it was big with child and getting near her time. So one day she made a slip, chopped down a young shoot. Old man Diggs, who was the overseer, he come running up screaming at her. That just made her more nervous. And she chopped down another one. Old overseer, he lifted up that rawhide and it beat her and it crossed her back and the shoulders that she fell to the ground. Charlie, he just stood there, listening to his wife scream and staring at the sky, not daring to look at her or even say a word. Many slave narratives remember the Civil War and the early days of emancipation. Now, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863, freedom did not come to most slaves until the end of the war in 1865. Here, Betty Jones of Virginia remembers those early days where hope intermingled with confusion.
Thank you kindly. Yeah, my grandma, she used to tell this story to everybody that would listen. Oh, and I expect I heard it about 100 times. But grandma said she was hired out to the Randolphs during the war, and one day, while she was weeding corn, another slave, Mamie Tyler, come running up to her and whispered in her ear, "Sarah, Sarah, they tell me Master Lincoln done set put me in your pocket now. Grandma say Mrs. Thacker started boo-hooing, threw that apron over her face, and run in the house. Oh, and Grandma knew it was truly free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Yes, sir. Many of the slaves also told the WPA interviewers about their traditions. What really held the slave community together during the oppression of slavery? Here, Vinnie Brunson talks about the larger meaning of the songs of the slaves.
Now the Bible tells us that the angels shouted in heaven. So that is where we get the scriptures for the dance that is called the shout. Now the shout is done at the end of the service. Now in the shout song, all the best singers get together and they start the song. Come on, children, now. Come on and sing with us now.
Sweet
Chariot coming for to carry me home.
Sing, children.
Swing low, sweet chariot coming for to carry me home.
Swing
low, sweet chariot coming for to carry me home.
Now, it moves slow. Oh, but then it gets faster and louder. Now, as they sing, well, they all join hands and make a big old circle. And then, oh, somebody gets happy. Somebody gets happy and jumps out in the middle of that circle and goes to dance. Now, other folks join in as the spread moves them, and they all, they start clapping their hands, grow till they not clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands. Oh, they start patting their feet, come on, till they not pat your feet, clap your hands, clap your hands. Well, now, that make a big old noise, and woo! Praise the come on, children, now. You come on up here and help me out, honey. Good girl. You come on up here and help me out. Y'all come on up here and help me out. Come on up here. Come on up here and help me out, honey. Everybody take your hands and throw them in the air and clap. Come on, honey. You come on up here and help me out. All right. Y'all join hands now. Y'all take somebody's hand. Everybody, we're going to jump. Jump. Now take your hands and throw them in the air. Now take it down. Take it low. Take it low. Take it low. Now take it around. Take it around. Just like this. Hold hands, everybody. Hold hands, everybody. Hold hands. Hold hands. Get ready now. Get ready now. Jump on in. Now jump on down. Everybody clap your hands and pat your feet. Clap your hands and stomp your feet. Clap your hands and stomp your feet. Just straight. Just straight. Just straight. Now take a bow. Now, let's hear it for the song leader, huh? Yes. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home and take me to a better place called Freedom Land. Guess what, y'all? We just had praise service. Y'all give yourselves a hand. You know, slaves were not allowed to go to school, no sir. It was even against the law to teach them how to read or write. My. So they taught their children through stories. Anybody here like storytelling?
Yeah.
Now these stories taught the children the difference between right and wrong and good and evil. And they also taught their children that even though they weren't as strong, everybody say strong. is powerful? Everybody say powerful. As the master, well, shoot, they could still get by if they used their head. Now, one of the most popular characters in these stories was Bull Rabbit. Say hello, Bull Rabbit.
Hello.
Say, how you doing, my friend?
How you doing, my friend?
Now, a long, long time ago, Bull Rabbit lived in the forest near a big oak tree. Show me big, everybody! Show me big! Oh, he enjoyed himself every day of the week, but every night when the sun would go down, all the big animals would chase him all. Come here, help me chase this rabbit. Help me kiss this rabbit. Come, help me kiss this rabbit. Chase him all. Run, 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 run. Run, 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 Where'd that pesky rabbit go? Over the forest town. Well, one day Bull Rabbit got wise, and he used his wits. He said,
I've got a plan for the wolf and for Bear that's sure to give them fits.
one night, little old Bull Rabbit was hopping through the woods when up jumped a wolf. Oh! Oh, what's up to no good? Knocked down Bull Rabbit and grabbed him by the ear. This was that little rabbit's worst of all fears. Bull Wolf said, Bull Rabbit, I've been all over this land, and all I could find to eat was some rocks and some sand. But then I saw you hopping through the woods, and I said to myself, oh, man, I can't wait to catch ya and put you in my frying pan. Well, now, Bull Rabbit thought a bit and said,
Okay, but Wolf, you called me, and you can do what you may.
Yeah.
But if you eat me, you'll never hear the story that I have to say.
Yeah.
But if you promise to let me go and let me be, I'll tell you about someone in the forest who said he's bigger and badder than you'll ever be.
Well, now, Bull Wolf sure was hungry. But he was even more mad. Well, he thought he was the only one in that forest to be called. Oh! He let loose Bull Rabbit's ears, and he set him on the ground. And that little rabbit started to tell his story. Oh, while he jumped in, hopped around.
Well, I was out in the meadow, and I saw that big old bear. And what he said about you, Bull Wolf, it just wasn't fair. Oh, he talked about you in a shameful way. He talked about you so bad, it turned my hair gray. Oh, he said your fur is all raggedy.
What?
And your ears are all long.
What?
And he said you can't hit none of the notes when you're singing that dumb wolf song.
Oh, yes, I can so, Bull Rabbit. Me. Oh! 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 Wasn't that pretty?
No, Bull Wolf, you know that ain't right.
That ain't right.
So the next time you see that big old bear, you just be ready to fight.
Oh, now this made the wolf mad. It was the biggest insult he ever had. Well, he took off, and he ran through the forest. He was knocking down a tree. He howled so loud it would make you tremble to your knees. Give me a howl! you old honey-eating fool. 'Cause your hide I'm gonna tan, and your behind I'm gonna flaw. Now Bull Bear woke up, and he stretched out his arms. Stretch out your arms, everybody. And he wiped the sleep from his eyes. Wipe out that sleep. And Bull Bear says,
Go on away from here now, Bull Wolf. You better pick on somebody your own size.
oh, but the wolf rushed the bear and leaped on his back. Oh! And the bear spun around and gave that old wolf an awful smack. Oh! The wolf fell back and like a streak of lightning and a ball of white heat. The bear jumped on that wolf with all 4 feet were they fought all night. No! 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 And all the next day. Oh, but somehow that old wolf, he managed get away. Now, Bull Wolf and Bull Bear were so tired from that fight that they both slept for 40 days and 49. Now, all that time that the wolf and the bear was fussing and fighting, little old Bull Rabbit, he could do anything he wanted to do.
Without worrying about anybody trying to make me into rabbit stew.
Go with your bad self, Bull Rabbit. Now, in today's story, the wolf and the bear represent the master and the overseer. And the rabbit represents who? Slaves. See, they were trying to teach their children that you can be just like the rabbit in the story. But what you have to do is distract the master and overseer. Get them to fussing and fighting with each other. And they'll have a little bit less time to worry about you and what you're doing. And maybe you'll have a little bit less back-breaking work to do. Pretty smart, huh? You know, slaves also use songs to pass along messages. Now, when the full moon came out at night, they thought it might be a good time to have a meal.
Maybe even try to escape, make their way up north to freedom.
Well, they just might.
Steal away,
Steal away.
steal away,
Steal away.
steal away to Jesus.
Steal away.
I ain't got long to stay.
Now that song, Steal Away, tells all the slaves that tonight just might be a good time to slip away. And then they might sing about how to find their way through the dark night to freedom. They follow the Big Dipper, which points to the North Star, the path to freedom. But see, they couldn't call it the Big Dipper. The master would know what they were up to. They called it
Follow the drinking gourd.
the drinking gourd. Now, if you know anything about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, you know what a dangerous and courageous journey this was. But they could only travel at night, under the cover of darkness, with only the stars and their faith to guide their way. But those courageous souls, they kept on going. Through the trees and up the hills and through the mountains, and they walked and they ran and they swam and they swam and they climbed and they climbed and they reached and they reached and they fell down. Oh, clear. But they kept on going and never turned back.
Everybody face Freedom Land now, children. We almost in Freedom Land. We almost there. All right? But to get there, we've all got to work together, all right? We got to work together. All right, now everybody take somebody's hand out there. Everybody take somebody's hand. We're going to count to 3. We're going to jump over this stream. And then we're going to lift our hands to the heavens and shout freedom. You ready? Count it with us.
1, 2,
3, jump!
all of those courageous souls that dared to be free. And the child shall live. Now, as we conclude today, there were relatively a small number that actually managed to escape and make their way to freedom. But for those left in bondage, they continue to have hope and they continue to be strong in their faith. And as we leave today, let's not repeat the wrongs of the past. And let's treat each other with dignity and respect, regardless of our differences or how different we might look. If we can do just that much, we can make this world a better place. We thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Toya Brazil.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Anthony.
It's been a wonderful audience. Give yourselves a the house will be open shortly, and we'll leave you